Back, sports fans. In the last segment, I was talking about Al Kaline's life. Before I get into what I want to talk about involving the PGA, which I will talk about this segment and perhaps the next, depending on how long it takes me, I do want to thank the first subscriber we actually have had on here. So, whoever you are, since I have no way of knowing, thank you for that. And also, while I'm at it, a few days ago we passed 1,000 views, and it may have even been yesterday, I'm not certain. So I thank all you who have watched and listened for sure to this. Very much appreciated. Getting on to the PGA now. The British Open was postponed earlier today to next year, which I think was a great move, and it was one I anticipated. What I didn't know and didn't anticipate is the Masters now having been moved from August to November. And I did a little research into this to check and see what the temperatures in Augusta are typically like that time of year, since I don't know and I haven't been to Georgia actually in many, many years. And what I found out was interesting. When the Masters is typically played in April, the high temperature tends to be around 77 degrees. In September, which is where they were going to move it, if I recall correctly, it tends to be about 87 degrees. So in fact, 10 degrees higher. However, in November, it tends to be 10 degrees below that, or if you will, 67 degrees, which could make for a big swing, if you will, no pun intended, between the warmer weather players and the cooler weather players. So I would surmise based on that actually by moving it to November, if it's played, there's probably more of a likelihood that a foreign golfer may win it. Especially one from Europe. It could be certainly Rory McIlroy, somebody like that. Whereas in September, it would have favored people like Brooks Koepka, who lives in Florida, or Tiger Woods. Maybe not Phil Mickelson so much, because he will be 50 by that date either way, as he turns 50 in June, for those of you who don't know that. That's a big difference in moving that. Furthermore, I'm not quite certain as to why they did that, but I guess they had to rearrange the golf schedule for that. Now, the PGA Championship is still destined to be played the first week of August, which is ironic because for those of you who know, a couple of years ago, when it used to be played in August, they moved it to May in order basically to clear way for the Olympics, I would say. But they also did that so they could move the Players' Championship up and the championship run to that title while not trying to compete with the NFL. So now we have the PGA Championship slated right now for the first week of August, which actually will be, if played, the PGA's first major of the year. U.S. Open slated to be played the second week of September, I believe it is, whereas we all know it's normally played on Father's Day weekend. And it was kind of interesting what I was hearing also earlier today on Pardon the Interruption. Michael Wilbon was suggesting that it would be perfectly okay to play the Masters during the week and not have it end on a Sunday. Now, there was one point made on that show that I had not thought about that I do agree with. They are going to have to move the tee times up because daylight will be a lot sooner in Augusta, and you won't be able to play till 7 or 7:30 at night. How late they'll be able to go, I don't know. But I would agree you are going to probably have to move the tee times up. And for those of you who may have thought I haven't checked on rain totals, so I haven't mentioned it as of yet, I actually did. Rain is about the same in Augusta in April, September, and November. Not too much of a variance there, and as we know, some years with the Masters, you've had downpours. You've actually had the first round rained out a couple of years that I remember. One year it rained so badly they couldn't even have the par 3 competition. Well, so it's going to make for an interesting PGA season, or season of majors, if you will, now that we know there are only going to be 3 majors, of which the British Open will not be one of them, with the Masters traditionally the first major of the year being now the last major of the year, and heading pretty close to Thanksgiving at that. It's going to be one heck of a challenge for the players no matter what. Plus, throw in there that somehow they plan on playing the Ryder Cup throughout all this. It's going to be interesting. I want to see how time develops on this and what actually happens with that. But so far, as of right now, this is the way it's scheduled. In the next segment, I will share my thoughts on some other sports. I will be right back.